Picture this. You arrive at the airport with hours of travel ahead of you. Maybe it's to visit your grandkids. Maybe it's a long-awaited cruise. Or maybe you're just finally treating yourself to the trips you promised you'd take when you had the time. Here's the secret most people don't know. Once you hit 60 and above, the airport actually becomes a completely different place. Why? Because airlines and airports offer a whole range of senior benefits that can save you money, cut down on stress, and make you feel like a VIP. The catch? They don't advertise them. So today, I'm going to walk you through 11 hidden airport perks for travelers over 60 and exactly how you can use them. Stick with me, because perk number 10 is one that even frequent flyers miss, and it can completely change how comfortable your trip feels. Let's jump in. Number 1. Skipping long lines with mobility assistance. Airports can feel like endless obstacle courses, long walks, security lines, and crowded boarding gates. But here's the insider tip. You don't need to be in a wheelchair full-time to ask for help. Airlines provide free mobility assistance for seniors. That can mean someone walking you through the airport, a golf cart ride between terminals, or a wheelchair with an attendant who gets you right to your gate. And yes, this often means you bypass the standard security line and board the plane early. Airlines don't put this on billboards because it costs them staff time, but the service is yours for the asking. Quick poll. Would you use this service if it saved you from walking a mile through the airport? Drop a yes or no in the comments. I'm curious what you think. Number 2, senior screening privileges at security. For many travelers, the TSA line is the most stressful part of flying. But if you're a senior, there are shortcuts. If you're 75 or older, TSA lets you keep your shoes on, leave your light jacket on, and in some airports, they'll wave you into an expedited lane. Even at 60 or 65, you can politely ask if there are senior screening options, and more often than not, they'll accommodate. Now combine this with TSA pre-check, and you've basically eliminated the worst part of air travel. Number 3, companions can join you through security. Here's something most people don't realize. Even if your spouse or child isn't flying with you, they may still be able to walk you to your gate. It's called a gate pass, and airlines issue them so seniors can travel with support. Your companion gets a special slip that allows them through security, just like a ticketed passenger. Think about how much peace of mind this gives. Someone to help carry your bag, keep you company at the gate, and make sure you're boarded comfortably. If you usually travel solo, would this make you feel safer? Comment below. I'd love to know. Number 4, hidden senior-only discounts on flights. Senior discounts didn't disappear, they just went underground. American Airlines, United, and Southwest all offer senior fares, but you have to call and specifically ask. International carriers like Lufthansa, Air France, and many Asian airlines often cut fares for travelers starting at age 60. These fares usually come with more flexibility, like free changes or easier cancellations. The trick is using the right language. Instead of, "Do you have discounts?" say, "I'd like to book a senior fare for passengers over 65. It's a small wording shift, but it can save you hundreds. Number 5, free or discounted seat changes. Cramped middle seat? Long leg with no aisle access? Don't settle. Seniors are often quietly moved to better seats, sometimes without paying extra. All you need to do is mention comfort or medical needs, circulation, back support, or easy bathroom access. Agents have the authority to reseat you if space is available. You probably won't get bumped into business class for free, but an aisle seat, bulkhead, or exit row is often possible. And for long-haul flights, that's a game changer. Number 6, priority boarding without paying a dime. Airlines love selling early boarding, but as a senior, you don't need to pay. At the gate, ask for extra boarding time for mobility or comfort reasons. It doesn't matter if you walk perfectly fine, you simply want to board without the crowd rush. This gets you settled before everyone else squeezes down the aisle, and it makes the whole process calmer. Number 7. Baggage loopholes that save seniors money. Checked bag fees are one of the sneakiest costs in flying, but seniors actually have multiple ways around them. Veterans, many airlines give free bags to those with military service. Medical devices, CPAP machines, coolers for medication, mobility equipment, they don't count toward baggage limits. Travel partners. On some airlines, if your bag is waived, your companion's is too. Here's the move. When checking in, say, "I'm traveling with medical equipment that needs to be carried." Often, the agent will waive your fee for the whole trip. Number 8. Lounges aren't just for business travelers. Think airport lounges are only for first-class flyers? Think again. Seniors often qualify for quiet spaces at no charge when flights are delayed or canceled. You request accommodations for medical or comfort needs. You're a veteran. Many lounges honor military service. Even if you don't get in free, day passes are often discounted for senior travelers if you ask. And for a long layover, the difference between a noisy gate and a calm lounge is night and day. Number 9. Dedicated senior lanes abroad. If you travel internationally, pay attention to this one. Many airports outside the US, especially in Europe and Asia, have special senior lanes for check-in, security, and boarding. These lines move slower, but that's the point. No rush, no pressure, and staff ready to help. In airports like Frankfurt, Singapore, and Madrid, this is becoming standard. So when you check in, simply ask, does this airport have priority services for senior travelers? Number 10. Insurance perks you might already have. Travel insurance companies love selling policies to seniors. But here's the truth. You might already be covered. Many credit cards automatically include baggage loss, trip cancellation, or medical coverage. AARP memberships come with travel protections. Some airlines partner with senior organizations for reduced insurance packages. Before you buy, check your wallet. You could be doubling up on something you already have. Number 11. Special transportation after you land. The perks don't stop when you get off the plane. Seniors often qualify for priority access to airport trams and golf carts, discounted tickets on trains and buses leaving the airport, dedicated taxi and rideshare queues for mobility assistance. These are rarely advertised, but every major airport information desk can point you to them. The one sentence that unlocks everything. If you only remember one thing from this video, let it be this. I'm a senior traveler. What accommodations are available today for comfort and mobility? That single line opens the door to faster security, better seats, waived fees, and more. Final thoughts. Flying after 60 doesn't mean flying is harder. It actually means flying smarter, because you have access to a toolkit of hidden perks. The key is asking. Airlines won't volunteer this information, but when you know what to request, your travel becomes cheaper, smoother, and far less stressful. So here's my challenge to you. On your next flight, test at least 2 of these perks. Then come back and tell us in the comments. Did it work? Did the staff help you out? Sharing your story might give another senior the confidence to ask too. And if you learned something new in this video, tap that like button. If you're over 70, there are airline benefits, quiet privileges, and overlooked protections that were designed for you. Yet almost nobody ever tells you about them. And it's not because they don't exist. It's because airlines don't make money when passengers know how to use them. So they sit buried in policy manuals, tucked into accessibility guidelines, or whispered among senior travel agents who know exactly where the hidden doors are. Today, we're opening every single one of those doors. This video is for travelers over 70. Whether you're still flying regularly, returning to travel after a break, or trying to make flying more comfortable, safer, and frankly, more fair. Because once you understand how the system works, flying becomes dramatically easier, more dignified, and often much cheaper. And here's the truth most people miss. Many of the perks you think are only for people with elite status, high-priced tickets, or special memberships are actually available to seniors who know how to ask. Not because airlines are generous, but because the government requires certain accommodations, or because offering help reduces their legal risk and operational delays. So today you'll learn how to access the perks they never advertise, from hidden priority services to special seating rights to unclaimed upgrades to protections that can save you hundreds of dollars. And stay with me until the end, because one of the last perks is so rarely discussed that even many flight attendants have never heard of it. Let's get into it. 1. The hidden age priority at check-in that almost no one uses. Most travelers think priority check-in is for elite members, first-class passengers, or people buying the expensive fare classes. But for seniors, there's a quiet back door. At almost every major airline, travelers over a certain age can be moved into a priority assistance line, even if they did not request wheelchair help. It exists to reduce congestion and to keep older travelers from standing in long queues that could create health liabilities. Airlines almost never advertise this because it slows down their premium lines, but agents are authorized to offer it. It often takes nothing more than approaching the agent at the priority lane and politely saying something like, "I qualify for senior assistance check-in." The word assistance triggers a protocol. They're required to apply it if available. If you've ever found yourself standing in a long check-in line and feeling unsure whether you're allowed to skip ahead, you are. And when you do, your baggage tags are printed faster, your boarding passes are issued with extra attention, and your stress level drops immediately. And if that surprised you, wait until you hear the next one, because it's even better. 2. Complimentary stability boarding, a quiet version of pre-boarding for seniors. Airlines have well-known pre-boarding groups for travelers needing assistance. But there's a lesser-known category almost never spoken about: stability pre-boarding. This is a courtesy category designed for passengers who are not using a wheelchair but may take extra time walking down the jet bridge, lifting a bag, or simply getting settled. If you're 70 or older, you qualify. Most passengers think pre-boarding requires a medical form or mobility device. It doesn't. If you say, "I need extra time to board," you're legally entitled to it. And once you use this option, boarding becomes calm and almost stress-free. No rushing, no crowds pushing behind you, no scrambling for overhead bin space. Imagine walking onto the aircraft when it's quiet. You find your seat, you place your bag overhead with assistance from the early boarding crew, and you're settled long before the rush begins. This single perk can transform your trip. And what's next builds directly on this one, because if you pre-board, you gain access to something even more powerful. 3. The secret that lets seniors choose safer, more comfortable seats for free. Most travelers assume that better seats cost extra: exit rows, bulkhead seats, aisle seats with extra space. But seniors have access to special seat reassignment rights designed to keep them safer and more comfortable. If you're over 70 and your assigned seat makes it difficult for you to stand, move, or access the aisle, gate agents must attempt to reassign you, even if those seats are normally paid upgrades. This includes bulkhead seats, aisle seats closer to restrooms, and sometimes even premium economy sections if no standard seats are available. Why is this so hidden? Because offering upgrades for free goes against airline revenue goals. But for seniors, safety overrides revenue. The approach is simple. My assigned seat won't work for me. Could you check for a more accessible option? Once again, the word accessible triggers a protocol. And if you think that's good, the next benefit shows just how much power you actually have, especially over seating. 4. You can decline a seat that's unsafe, and they must fix it. This is one of the most empowering perks. If you board the aircraft and your seat is not safe or feasible, for example, if you have difficulty standing from it or if it's in a tight row, you're allowed to decline it even after boarding. Most passengers think once they're assigned a seat, they're stuck. But for seniors, refusing an unsuitable seat forces the airline to move you, even if that means reseating someone else or upgrading you. And here's the part very few people know. If the airline cannot provide you a suitable alternative, you can request to be moved to the next available flight at no extra cost, with a confirmed seat type that suits you. This quiet protection gives seniors leverage almost no one realizes exists. But if you think seat protections are helpful, the next benefit goes beyond comfort. It protects your health. 5. Seniors over 70 are eligible for no-rush transfers through security. Security checkpoints are stressful for everyone, but for older travelers, rushing can increase the risk of falls or confusion. That's why TSA has a little-known protocol for seniors called no-rush transfer. This allows TSA agents to slow the line down for you, assist with bins, guide you through the scanner, and retrieve your belongings on the other side. You don't need to prove anything. Simply saying, "I need no rush screening," requires them to help. This small privilege turns security from a stressful sprint into a stable, calm process. And here's the part that ties right into it. It unlocks another perk without you realizing it. 6. Seniors automatically qualify for simplified screening. No shoes, no jackets, no hassle. Most people think that TSA pre-check is the only way to skip the shoes off, laptop out hassle. Not true. TSA has relaxed screening rules for travelers over 75, meaning you can leave shoes and light jackets on and usually keep small items in your bag, even if you're not in pre-check. But here's the catch. This benefit is often inconsistently enforced because agents are trained primarily on pre-check rules, meaning you may occasionally need to remind them. A simple phrase, "I qualify for age-based screening," resets the process. Imagine not having to balance, bend, or rush at security ever again. That's the power of this rule. And this next perk builds on that same idea of protection. 7. Seniors have priority access to airport carts, escorts, and hidden mobility services. Airports are enormous spaces, and walking long distances becomes increasingly challenging. But what most seniors don't know is that airports maintain entire fleets of mobility carts and trained escorts specifically reserved for older travelers. Here's the kicker. You don't need a disability. You just need to say you require assistance. These escorts can take you from check-in to security, through security lanes, directly to your gate, and even from aircraft to baggage claim. Many airports treat senior mobility assistance as a priority service, meaning you may bypass regular queues to keep the service efficient. Airlines don't publicize this because mobility services cost money and resources, but it's there, and you're entitled to use it. But if that opened your eyes, the next one is even more surprising because it affects your wallet. 8. Special fare protections for seniors. Even when airlines say no discounts, most airlines phased out traditional senior discounts, but what they didn't phase out are senior fare protections. If you're 70 or older, you qualify for more flexible fare rules, including no penalty changes in medical situations, easier waivers for schedule disruptions, higher priority for rebooking during delays, and in some cases, eligibility for refundable equivalent treatment. Those terms aren't advertised, but they exist within customer service manuals. They allow seniors to change or cancel flights more easily than average passengers, especially when calling customer support directly. This is why phone agents often give seniors better outcomes than they offer online, because the call triggers the protection. But the next benefit affects something every senior worries about: long walks and tight connection times. 9. Mandatory assistance for tight connections, a hidden safety net. Connections can be stressful at any age, but for seniors, there's an official safeguard. If your itinerary includes a tight connection, usually under 60 minutes for domestic or 90 minutes for international, airlines are required to provide assistance to ensure you make it. This could include a cart ride, express lane access, a gate escort, or in extreme cases, holding the connecting flight. This perk exists because airlines want to avoid medical incidents from rushing seniors between gates. And if they fail to provide support, you're entitled to rebooking on the next flight without fees. This connects directly to the next benefit: because when airlines fail to meet their obligations, seniors have more leverage than they realize. 10. Seniors must be rebooked first during delays and cancellations. Most passengers assume rebooking during major delays is first come, first served, not quite. Airline disruption policies quietly prioritize travelers who need extra assistance, and seniors are included in that category. This means when flights get canceled or overbooked, seniors should be rebooked before general passengers. Seniors get access to earlier flights. Seniors can request better seats on new flights. And seniors can ask for hotel accommodations when necessary. Many gate agents won't offer these automatically, but when you say, "I need priority rebooking due to my age and assistance requirements," the system changes how they handle your case, and it gets better. Because out of all the hidden perks, this next one is one of the most powerful. 11. Seniors have the right to assistance with overhead baggage. Airlines often state that passengers must be able to lift their own bags, but what they don't clarify is that this rule doesn't apply the same way for seniors. Passengers over 70 can request help placing carry-ons in overhead bins during pre-boarding or regular boarding. Crew members aren't allowed to lift bags for everyone, but they are allowed to assist seniors to prevent injury. Why is this so quietly handled? Liability. Airlines prefer helping you lift a bag over filing an injury report. This perk alone can save your shoulders, back, and balance, and it's one of the most underused benefits seniors have. But it leads naturally into the next one, which flight attendants rarely mention. 12. You can request priority access to restrooms, even mid-flight. Long flights make restroom access stressful, especially when aisles are blocked. But seniors have the right to request priority access, meaning the crew can help clear the aisle, direct you to the closest lavatory, or even hold the restroom briefly until you reach it. This is especially valuable on international flights where aisle congestion can be extreme. This benefit exists because older travelers statistically face more urgent restroom needs, and delaying access can cause medical issues. Airlines prevent those risks proactively, but only if you ask. Now, before we move forward, let's pause for a moment, because we're approaching some of the most surprising perks in the list. If uncovering insider travel advantages like these helps you feel more confident and prepared, make sure you're subscribed to BoardiFly. This channel is built for travelers, especially seniors, who want to fly smarter, not just cheaper. And the next perks are the kind that most people never hear about their entire lives. All right, let's continue because the next one is a game changer. 13. Seniors can request comfort aids the airline never advertises. Airlines quietly carry certain comfort items on board, but they rarely advertise them because supplies are limited. Seniors, however, are prioritized for requests. These include extra blankets, extra pillows, hot water packs, cold compresses, rehydration drinks, even small medical kits. All you need to do is ask early, ideally during pre-boarding. Flight attendants are trained to prioritize older travelers for comfort-related items because preventing discomfort reduces the risk of mid-flight medical incidents. And speaking of health, 14. You have special rights to medical diversions, even without a formal diagnosis. This is a perk you hope to never use, but it's life-changing if you need it. If you experience medical distress mid-flight, the crew must take your request seriously. Seniors are given elevated priority when assessing diversions or contacting medical personnel. The crew consults with ground-based doctors and weighs your condition more heavily than other passengers. This doesn't mean every situation leads to a diversion, but it means your voice carries weight. And if the airline declines medical assistance and you later experience complications, they are legally liable, which is why your concerns are treated with heightened urgency. But this next one, the final perk, is the one almost no one knows, and even many airline staff are unaware of its full power. 15. Seniors can request reseating for comfort and safety, even if the flight is full. This is the ultimate hidden perk. If you're over 70 and experiencing discomfort, safety concerns, circulation issues, swelling, or difficulty sitting, you can request to be reseated at any point in the flight, even if the plane appears full. Here's why. There is almost always an unclaimed crew seat or block seat somewhere on the aircraft. These seats are usually restricted from passengers, but in rare cases where a senior traveler becomes uncomfortable or medically at risk, the crew can authorize temporary seating in these locations during non-critical phases of flight. This includes flight attendant jump seats during cruise only, unassigned crew rest seats, inactive premium seats, blocked economy seats. You won't stay there for landing or takeoff, but even 45 minutes of better seating can dramatically reduce pain, swelling, or discomfort. Few people know this policy exists, but it does, and it can turn a miserable flight into a manageable one. If you're over 70, flying shouldn't feel stressful or confusing. It should feel empowered, because the reality is, airlines built entire systems of accommodations and protections for senior travelers. They just don't highlight them because it slows operations and reduces revenue. But once you know what's available, everything changes. Here's the mindset to remember. You're not asking for favors. You're using this. The longer I've been around airports, the more I've realized something. The people who often need the most help get told the least. And seniors, especially those traveling alone, traveling after a long break, or navigating new airport systems, are quietly sitting on a treasure chest of perks, protections, shortcuts, and accommodations that airlines rarely mention, because there's no incentive for them to do so. So let me start with a truth most travelers never hear out loud. Airports are not built for comfort. They're built for flow. And anything that slows down the flow, anything that requires extra staff time, or anything that reduces profit tends to be softened, hidden, or put behind layers of confusing policy language. But here's the twist. Senior travelers actually have more rights than most people realize. And today, I want to reveal the 10 forgotten ones, the ones that can change your entire flying experience, if you know to ask for them. By the end of this video, you'll know how to get faster service, smoother boarding, more comfortable seating, special protections during delays, and even hidden perks inside the plane, all without being pushy or demanding. Just confident, informed, and completely within your rights. Let's start with one that can save you from one of the worst airport frustrations. 1. The right to a human being, not a kiosk. Walk into any modern airport and you'll notice something. Suddenly you're expected to check yourself in, tag your own bags, reweigh your own luggage, scan your own documents, and troubleshoot your own problems. But here's the secret almost no one tells seniors. You never have to use a kiosk if you don't want to. If you're over a certain age, usually 65 or 70, or if the kiosk stresses you, confuses you, or simply feels like too much pressure, you can go directly to a staffed counter and request full-service check-in. No extra cost, no excuses needed. Most airlines quietly allow this because kiosks crash, misread passports, and cause errors. And guess who ends up fixing those errors? Human agents. So it's easier for them to just serve seniors directly. Imagine this. Instead of juggling your passport, your glasses, your bags, and a blinking machine that keeps telling you to scan again, you simply walk up and say, "I prefer full-service assistance today." A calm agent handles the rest. This is especially helpful if you're carrying medications, medical devices, or mobility aids that need special documentation. A human agent knows what forms you actually need. A kiosk doesn't. And if that one surprised you, wait until you hear the next, because it affects your comfort for the entire trip. 2. The right to special seating, even if the plane looks full. One of the worst-kept secrets inside airline operations is this. There is always a block of seats held for special requests. Always. These aren't the paid upgrades. They're reserved medical and mobility priority seats. And they're often the exact seats seniors actually need. Closer to the front, closer to the restroom, or with extra legroom. Most people never get these seats because they don't know how to ask. And airlines don't exactly scream about them, because they want to sell those seats. But seniors have a quiet advantage. You can request these seats for reasons related to mobility limitations, arthritis, balance challenges, breathing limitations, or simply reduced endurance while walking. Airlines keep these seats unassigned until the last minute to comply with various accessibility rules. If you ask early, you often get them. If you ask at the gate, you almost always get them. Picture this. You're boarding a flight and the agent asks, "How can I assist?" You calmly say, "I would be more comfortable in a seat closer to the front due to limited mobility." 9 times out of 10, they unlock the row and move you. And it gets better, because some of these same seating blocks become available during delays, which leads to the next forgotten right. 3. The right to be reseated after a delay or aircraft swap. Here's something even frequent flyers forget. If your flight is delayed, swapped to a new aircraft, or recharted, you are not required to accept a worse seat. This is where seniors often get overlooked because gate agents move quickly and assume people won't speak up. But airlines have to follow one rule many travelers never hear about. If you are a senior with a comfort or mobility preference, they must attempt to reaccommodate you at the same seat quality, or better, at no extra charge. So if you originally had a forward seat but the new plane puts you in the back, they must fix it. If you had an aisle seat but the new layout puts you in a center seat, they must fix it. If the new plane has a more comfortable bulkhead or preferred seats open, you can request one. Most travelers don't know this because it's buried in operational guidelines, not public policy. And here's the part even agents will admit quietly. The moment someone calmly advocates for themselves, they bump that person to the top of the receding line. And if you think that's empowering, the next one is even more so, because it actually protects your energy and dignity at the airport. 4. The right to mobility assistance without justifying yourself. One of the biggest myths seniors believe is, "I don't want to inconvenience anyone." But the truth is, the airport assistance system exists because airports know their terminals are physically demanding. Long walks, hard floors, tight connections, endless lines, these are a young person's game. Yet many seniors avoid asking for help because they think they need a doctor's note or a visible disability. You don't. If walking long distances is uncomfortable, if standing in line makes your knees ache, if you move slower than the crowd, or if you simply feel safer with support, you can request wheelchair or cart assistance with absolutely zero medical documentation. This includes check-in to security, security to the gate, gate to boarding, disembarking assistance, baggage claim support, connections at foreign airports. And here's where many seniors miss an advantage. You can request a gate-to-gate escort during layovers. That means someone waits for you at the aircraft door and drives you or walks you to your next gate. No getting lost, no rushing, no trying to read screens while the airport buzzes around you. Airlines quietly accept this because it keeps the flow smooth. You're not slowing down crowds. You're not struggling through large terminals. You're moving efficiently, and they like that. And that leads to one of the most surprising rights of all, one that can completely change your security experience. 5. The right to an alternative TSA screening method. Most travelers don't know this, but TSA is required to offer alternative screening to seniors who cannot perform certain movements, such as raising both arms, standing for long periods, removing shoes, or bending over. You don't need a note. You don't need to explain medical details. A simple request is enough. If removing your shoes is difficult, you can request a pat down instead. If lifting your arms is painful, you can request a modification. If standing in the scanner makes you feel unstable, they can bring a chair. If you use a mobility aid, you can stay with it. You're not required to abandon it. And here's something rarely said publicly. TSA officers are often relieved when seniors ask for this up front. It makes the process smoother for them too. Imagine walking through security without twisting, falling out of balance, or feeling rushed by younger travelers behind you. The screener simply says, "We'll take care of you right here," and guides you through gently. It's calm, it's dignified, and it's your right. And before we go further, because the next rights build on this, let me slip in something important. If you love uncovering hidden travel protections and little-known perks like these, make sure you're subscribed to BoardiFly. This channel is built for travelers who want to fly smarter, not more stressed. And the next rights in this video are the ones airlines really hope you never learn. All right, let's continue. 6. The right to early boarding. Automatically. Here's the thing about boarding groups. They look official. They feel official. Airlines make them sound like rigid military formation lines. But for seniors, they're flexible. Most airlines quietly allow seniors to board early if they feel they need a little more time, even if they're not in the early boarding group printed on the ticket. This is because boarding is the most physically risky part of flying. That jet bridge slope, that rush of people, that pressure to move fast, airlines know it can be overwhelming. So if you simply walk up to the gate agent and say, "I'll need a little extra time to board," they place you in the pre-boarding or priority line. And yes, even if you're flying basic economy, some airlines say this publicly. Most do not, but all follow similar internal guidelines. This right is especially helpful if you move a bit slower, want time to settle into your seat, need extra time to lift your bag, or want help placing it overhead, prefer not to be brushed or bumped by the rush of passengers, are carrying medication you want to organize before takeoff. The gate agent is trained to simply say, "Of course, I'll add you now." And here's a little nuance people overlook. Pre-boarding isn't for the elderly. It's for anyone who needs extra time or assistance. You're not asking for a favor. You're using a perfectly normal, completely acceptable option. And speaking of overhead bins, 7. The right to assistance with carry-ons, including placing them overhead. A lot of seniors feel embarrassed to ask for help with bags. But here's the insider truth. Flight attendants are required, trained, and fully prepared to help seniors lift or stow bags, or gate check them if needed. This isn't a special favor, it's a safety measure. Flight attendants actually prefer to help, because overhead bin injuries are among the most common in-flight incidents. They're trained to lift properly, to secure bags correctly, and to ensure no one strains themselves. But here's the trick. They often won't initiate unless you ask, because they don't want to assume anything. They don't want to offend you or imply you can't lift your bag. That's why asking is key. So imagine this. You step into the aisle, smile, and say, "I'll need assistance lifting this bag when you have a moment." They immediately take over. And if bins fill up, which they often do, you have every right to request free gate check support. No fees, no stress. They take your bag at the aircraft door and return it at the arrival gate. And this smoother handling ties directly into the next forgotten right, one that becomes incredibly important during delays. 8. The right to financial or comfort compensation during lengthy disruptions. Most travelers, and especially seniors, assume that when a flight is delayed, canceled, or stuck on the tarmac, they just have to accept whatever happens. But what many don't know is this. Depending on the cause, the length, and the airline, seniors may be eligible for compensation, rebates, hotel vouchers, meal vouchers, rebooking priority, or even medical necessity assistance during extended delays. Airlines rarely announce this. Why? Because most people won't ask, and every unclaimed voucher saves them money. But here's where seniors have leverage. You can request a seat during long delays instead of standing. You can request water or medication access if needed. You can request a quiet or comfortable waiting area. You can request rebooking on another airline if medically necessary. You can request meal vouchers during significant delays depending on the airline. You can request hotel accommodations during overnight cancellations if airline caused. Agents usually only offer these when prompted because rules vary, and people who know the rules tend to get served faster. Now, one right that almost no senior traveler uses, and it's a shame, is the right to refuse a bad solution during a disruption. If the delay solution puts you in a stressful or physically taxing situation, you can say, "That won't work for me. What other options do you have?" They'll scroll deeper into their system and often find something far better, But the next right doesn't involve airports at all. It's about the aircraft itself. 9. The right to medication priority and cold storage access. If you travel with medications, insulin, inhalers, injectables, refrigerated meds, or even time tablets, you have two rights airlines almost never talk about. First, you can bring more medication than the standard 311 liquid rule. Medical liquids are exempt. Completely. Second, many aircraft have cold storage compartments. Not public refrigerators, but secure galley coolers. And seniors can request to store heat-sensitive medical items in them, space permitting. Most travelers have no idea this exists because flight attendants won't announce it. It's an ask-if-needed item. They also understand that seniors often need water for medication at specific times, so you can ask for early water service, even before takeoff. They know the drill. And here's an insider nuance. If you need to access medication while the seatbelt sign is on, you can request permission to stand or move even when others must remain seated. Safety comes first, but flight attendants are trained to balance medical necessity with cabin rules. Which brings us to the final, and maybe the most empowering, forgotten senior travel right. 10. The right to dignity in every interaction. Airports move fast. Policies sound harsh. Agents get overwhelmed. And many seniors walk away feeling rushed, dismissed, or talked down to. But here's the part that isn't said enough. You have the right to patient explanations. You have the right to ask someone to repeat instructions. You have the right to be treated respectfully. You have the right to decline confusing self-service processes. You have the right to slow down and catch your breath. You have the right to ask for a quieter area. You have the right to say, please explain that again, without feeling like a burden. Agents sometimes forget this. The crowds, the noise, the pressure, it all gets to them. But when a senior calmly says, I need a moment, or could you explain that one more time? It resets the entire tone, because here's the truth they don't teach in training manuals. When seniors speak with clarity and confidence, people pay attention. This final right isn't about paperwork, it's about presence, and it might be the most powerful one in this video. Let's circle back to something we said at the very beginning. Airports are designed for flow, not comfort. But seniors, whether traveling at 60, 70, 80, or beyond, are allowed to slow that flow down when needed. You don't have to rush through a process your body isn't built for. You don't have to pretend kiosks make sense. You don't have to accept a seat that hurts your knees. You don't have to walk a quarter mile to a connection. You don't have to be quiet about your medical needs. You don't have to shrug during a delay and think, I guess this is how it works. You have rights, real ones, even if no airport puts them on a big sign. If there's one master phrase to remember after watching today's video, it's this: what are my options? That single question opens doors, unlocks seats, brings out vouchers, reveals policies, and gives agents the green light to help you the way they wish they could help everyone. Use it at the ticket counter. Use it at the gate. Use it during delays. Use it when boarding. Use it on the plane. Because the moment you ask that question, the system has to work for right off the top. Let's be honest. Most travelers never hear about their travel rights. But for seniors, and especially anyone 60, 65, or older, there are 13 powerful rights that airlines almost never mention. And not because they don't exist, but because acknowledging them means extra work, extra time, and sometimes extra cost on their side. But once you know these rights and how to confidently claim them, flying becomes easier, calmer, and in many cases, way more comfortable. Today, I'm going to walk you through each one, not as a lawyer or a policy nerd, but like a friend who's been on the road long enough to know exactly what airlines hope you don't notice. And by the end of this video, you'll know the kinds of things seniors can quietly ask for, the things that can turn a long day of travel into something surprisingly smooth. Let's get into it. Right number 1, the right to priority seating without paying extra. Most people think priority seating is only for those who buy upgrades, have elite status, or pay the extra fee at booking. But there's an overlooked group airlines often quietly accommodate: older travelers who need seats that are easier to access, especially on long flights. If you're over 60 or 65, depending on the airline, you can request bulkhead seating, aisle seats, or seats near the front of the plane without being treated like you're asking for an upgrade. Now, airlines won't advertise this because once passengers realize that age qualifies as a legitimate comfort and accessibility need, that could mean hundreds of requests every day. But gate agents are trained to create reasonable accommodation for older travelers, which includes seating adjustments. And here's the best part. You don't need to make it dramatic, and you don't need to prove anything. You simply say, I'm a senior traveler and I need a seat that's easier to access. Are there any priority or aisle seats available? You would be surprised how often they say yes, especially in the last 20 minutes before boarding. And if that surprised you, wait until you hear the next one, because this one is even better. Right number 2, the right to assistance through security. No questions asked. This is a right almost no senior uses. Airport security assistance. Whether it's a long line, a deep bending requirement for shoes, or carrying bins, TSA and most global security agencies actually provide guided screening for seniors. You can ask for assistance at the beginning of the checkpoint, and officers are trained to help you without rushing or pressuring you. You can also ask for a private screening if that feels more comfortable. More importantly, seniors are allowed modified screening. That includes not removing shoes in many countries, not removing light jackets, not standing with hands over your head if mobility is limited. Security isn't supposed to treat older travelers like everyone else. But because they're moving fast, they don't always tell you your options. Sometimes all it takes is saying, I need assisted or modified screening. I'm a senior traveler. And this next right connects to that, but gives you even more breathing room. Right number 3, the right to early boarding, even if you didn't pay for it. Every airline has early boarding, but what most travelers don't know is that seniors qualify under the same category as passengers who need extra time. You don't need a wheelchair. You don't need a medical note. You don't need to prove anything. If you're 60 plus or 65 plus, you can request early boarding to avoid crowds. Take your time walking the jet bridge. Settle into your seat without pressure. Airlines don't put this on the boarding card. They don't announce it with the same enthusiasm as Group 1, Group 2, but it exists because legally they must allow boarding accommodation for those who need it. Just walk to the gate counter and say, I'm a senior traveler and I need extra time boarding. This one right, used consistently, can reduce your stress more than almost anything else on this list. And speaking of reducing stress, right number 4, the right to have medications carried or handled separately. Here's something most people never hear. If you have medications, supplements, or medical devices, airport and airline staff must treat them with priority. That includes letting you keep medications in your carry-on, never check them, allowing insulated bags or cool packs, allowing liquids over 3 ounces if medically required, handling medically necessary devices with care. Airlines don't highlight this because they know people will overuse it, but it's real. And senior travelers, especially those with chronic conditions, get even more flexibility. Imagine how much of stress this removes on a long travel day, knowing no one can force your medication into checked baggage, and security can't confiscate properly declared medical liquids. If you've ever worried about this right alone is a game changer. But the next one? Almost no one over 60 realizes they can ask for it. Right number 5, the right to wheelchair assistance. Even if you don't normally use one. This isn't about disability. This isn't about being unable to walk. This is about energy conservation. And that's exactly how the law describes it. Any senior traveler can request wheelchair service for long airport distances, stress reduction, avoiding standing in long lines, saving stamina for the flight, and airlines must provide it for free. They can't charge, they can't question your reason, they can't require proof. The wheelchair service also often includes a dedicated escort, priority immigration, faster security lanes, early boarding, baggage assistance, Some seniors use this once and never travel without it again because it transforms the entire experience. And if that blew your mind, wait until you hear the right that even airline agents sometimes forget exists. Right number 6, the right to request a free seat change if you feel unsafe or uncomfortable. This right is buried in airline policy manuals, not public websites. Anyone who feels unsafe due to mobility, comfort, or seat partner issues can ask to be reseated. And seniors get priority for this. Airlines want to avoid risk. If a senior traveler feels crowded, squeezed, or at risk of being bumped repeatedly during a long flight, agents will try to fix it. This can mean moving you to an aisle seat, shifting another passenger, even relocating you to a premium seat if that's the only open space left. The key is asking early, ideally at the gate. If you've ever been placed next to a loud, sick, or extremely fidgety passenger, you are not stuck. Now, before we get to the next one, which is my personal favorite, let me take 10 seconds to say this. If you love uncovering hidden travel perks like these, make sure you're subscribed to BoardiFly, because this channel is built for seniors and travelers who want to fly smarter, not just cheaper. All right, let's get back into it. Right number 7, the right to bring a companion through security in special cases. This one is rarely mentioned out loud because airports worry it'll open the floodgates. Seniors can request for a companion to escort them through security to the gate. Airports use something called a gate pass or escort pass. It lets a family member or friend help with bags, help navigate security, walk with you to the gate, keep you company until boarding. While airlines don't advertise this, they issue these passes every day for children, disabled passengers, and, yes, older adults. Some agents will say no if they're rushed or unclear on the policy, but if you ask calmly and clearly, it's surprisingly common to get approved. And if you think that's generous, just wait until you hear what happens if your flight gets delayed. Right number 8, the right to compensation when delays hit harder for seniors. Airlines don't want you to know this because it costs them money. Compensation rules apply more generously to seniors, especially when a delay affects medication schedules, physical comfort, or connection times. If a long delay could create a medical or safety issue, airlines often rebook you for free, waive change fees, offer meal vouchers, provide hotel accommodations on overnight delays, give you priority on the next available flight. You don't need to act helpless. You simply need to explain the issue clearly. I'm a senior traveler and this delay affects my medication schedule. I need rebooking assistance. What airlines fear most is a situation where they refuse to help and something went wrong, which means seniors get prioritized far more often than people realize. This next right ties into that, and it's even more powerful. Right number 9, the right to assistance during tight connections. If you're connecting through a large airport, you are not supposed to sprint. You are not supposed to risk missing a flight. You are not supposed to hurry. Seniors automatically qualify for assistance during short or stressful layovers. That can include a golf cart, a wheelchair escort, priority transfer lanes, personal assistance at the connection point. Most travelers don't know this exists, so they miss their flights. But airlines are trained to prevent seniors from being put into unsafe or rushed situations. Once you request it, they flag your reservation so the connecting airport is already expecting you. But let's go deeper, because this next right is one of the airline industry's quietest secrets. Right number 10, the right to bring food and liquid for medical or dietary needs. TSA allows medically necessary liquids. Airlines allow medically necessary meals. But almost no one knows that dietary restrictions tied to age or health are considered just as valid. That means seniors can bring homemade meals, nutritional drinks, liquid supplements, gel food, extra water, when declared properly. Just tell the security officer it's dietary or medical. Both fall under the same exemption category. Airlines don't mention this because they want you to buy expensive airport food. But you're allowed to bring what you need, especially if airport or in-flight options don't meet your dietary requirements. But the next right, this one shocks people the most. Right number 11, the right to ask for a second safety demonstration or assistance. Seniors have the right to ask for a slower explanation, a repeated safety demo, help understanding seatbelt operation, clarification on oxygen masks or life vests. Flight attendants are required, not encouraged but required, to make sure every passenger understands safety procedures. If you need a more detailed walkthrough, especially on long-haul flights, they must provide it. This is one of the airline's biggest fears, a safety misunderstanding mid-flight. So they take senior requests very seriously. And speaking of taking things seriously, right number 12, the right to have bags retrieved or lifted for you. You do not need to lift your bag overhead. You do not need to twist your back or shoulders. You do not need to risk injury. Flight attendants can't physically lift bags for liability reasons, but they are trained to assist, position, or stabilize bags for seniors. Even more importantly, gate staff and cabin crew can bring your carry-on down, help remove it from tight spaces, assist in checking it at the gate for free. If your bag is too heavy or awkward, just say, "I'm a senior traveler. Can I have assistance with my carry-on?" You do not need to lift anything above your head if it feels unsafe. And now the final right, one that almost no senior uses, but every senior should. Right number 13, the right to ask for a seat near the lavatory on long flights. This is a quiet, unpublicized right that gate agents use internally. Seniors, especially those with medical, hydration, or mobility needs, can request seats near the restroom on long-haul flights. This isn't considered an upgrade. It's considered comfort accommodation, and airlines comply because it reduces in-flight disturbances. On long flights, 6, 8, 12 hours, this can completely change the experience. Just imagine, no squeezing past rows, no long aisle walks, no stressing mid-flight, no waiting until the aisle is clear. It's one of the simplest but most impactful rights older travelers can use. If you've ever felt like travel has gotten more stressful with age, here's the truth. It's not because you're asking for too much. It's because airlines rarely tell you what you're already entitled to. But now you know. You know the quiet requests that make flights easier. You know the phrases that open doors. And you know the rights that transform travel from exhausting to completely manageable. Here's your master mindset moving forward. I'm not asking for special treatment. I'm asking for safe and reasonable accommodation. Use these rights at check-in, at the gate, during boarding, mid-flight, during delays, at connections. And here's my question for you. What's the best perk or surprise help you've ever received while flying? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And if you want more insider travel intel just like this, subscribe to BoardiFly, where we help seniors and smart travelers fly with confidence, comfort, and clarity. Until next time, fly smarter.